Welcome back. This is the last part here. So we're going to talk about our how we best respond to questions, okay? And most importantly, how we best respond to our paragraphs, or based on our short answer questions, I should say. We always have this fine line of either we love doing these reworks passages and get them all right, or we don't do so well on these and don't do well on both multiple choice and short answer. And then we get to this point where I can do really good with multiple choice, but not good with short answer. Or I could do really good with short answers, but not multiple choice. So back when I was in school, sometimes I was that way. The multiple choice questions were always tripping me up, but I was always able to do the short answers just fine. So with that being said, let's look at the question here. First off, number 8 is saying, where do Pete and Sestina go after they get off the train? Well, this part goes like so. Well, if I was to tell you to restate the question, and well, sometimes, not going to lie, you can see it here. Copy, paste. Look, look, Mr. W, look what I did. You just copied the question. You didn't restate the question, you copied the question. If we remember back in the days of old at Glendale, the CU rap, right? Circle, first read everything, reread, circle the question, underline the topic, restate, answer, prove, and then proofread. That was my sample of, well, actually that was a whole song. But anyway, we had a great video. Moving on. We would understand that after I read a passage, read it again, made my notes, things like that, I would go back and then look at the questions here, okay? So, my question word, where, because we always know of who, what, when, where, why, and how are question words. I gotta get rid of that guy. I also need to get rid of this guy too, because we're not asking a question. Now if I said here, do Pete and Sestina go after they get off the train? Do Pete and Sestina go after they get off the train? Does that question make any sense? I'm sorry, not question, but does that response make any sense? It does not. So we're going to get rid of do. Okay? Pete and Sestina go blank after they get off the train. Now, I'm going to pause for a minute. Sometimes when we have these questions, do you notice that this is almost a complete sentence? And all we need to do is just add something in the middle to make it complete? We've been so thinking about making sure that we say Pete and Sestina go after the train because or why or whatever. Because sometimes when we have questions, we can say something like, what is the reason the author did this? Will you say the reason the author did this is blank? So that's when our CU Rat method was awesome and did well. But when we get something like this, we have to kind of stop and think for a minute of how can our sentence make sense. And if I put a period here at the end of train and put something in the middle, I know that this is going to make a complete sentence. So here we go. And I kind of was like, hey, look at here. Because if I was scrolling through the passage and I see this here, oh, look, they're going to the museum too. You're doing on the museum. They're going to the museum. That's right. To look at paintings. So go to, oh, Lordy, go to the museum. Typing is hard today for Mr. W, everybody. I'm sorry. After they get off the train. So Pete and Sestina go to the museum after they get off the train. That answers our question correctly. Now, let's look here. Number 9. Oh, well, what happened? Okay, there we go. Oh, not that one yet. We're getting there, though. Number 9. Ooh, action word, describe. Describing something, right? Describe Pete's feelings at the museum. Well, let's see here. Let me actually tell you how we can apply this. It says here, starting here, going on down. I'm sorry, starting here, going on down. The colors are so bright, Pete said, wincing. Look, it's really painful. Oh, his head's hurting. Ow. Next, they stood in front of paintings. Must have had 100 of them, exactly the same as far as I could see. The artist has exactly the same repeating patterns of his own painting. Avoid repeating any of the artist pattern. Or the other artist pattern. And then at that moment, he realized he had never been to a modern art section before, having always returned to familiar rooms where the art was easier to understand, and the newness filled with a sense of joy. Okay, so first off, he was going through this, and he's like, "Oh my golly, wow, it's painful, right?" And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Wow, this is actually good art." So he's happy, right? He's got joy. So you can't just say this. Pete's feelings were, Pete's feelings at the museum, because we had to do our topic, were pain and joy. I can't type that out. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to get full credit, right? Because I didn't describe that. I'm describing it. If I told you to describe how your day was and you just said, okay, then I have no idea what to do in the following conversation other than follow up with, well, what happened? Right? One of the more typical teenage responses, as I say. That's right, I was that way too. So Pete's feelings at the museum, let's try to do here, were painful because he was getting a headache looking at the art. However, he did feel joyful, or happy if you will, once he saw the beauty of the art. Now I know, Mr. W, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to write all that out, and that's okay. That's fine. But as long as you're describing, right? He's feeling painful because again, he was getting a headache. And then, however, he was feeling joyful because again, he liked the art. He appreciated the art. He saw the beauty of the art. Okay? So by adding in just a few little things gives us a great response. Okay? Now, these last ones are so great. This is broken down into two parts. At the end of the story, Pete says to Sestina, Sestina, you've broken my pattern, and I attribute our new friendship to a rare state of grace. What does Pete mean in this statement? Well, support your answer with evidence from the passage. Well, let's look here. Think about it, right? Pete was like, yeah, okay, this art's fine and all. Everything's fine and all. And then you're like, and he's like, okay, I'm staring too hard and this, my head's starting to hurt. And then Sestina is all like, hey, this artist is repeating the patterns of her own pain to avoid repeating other artists' patterns. So trying not to get on the flake, trying to do their own thing, right? You know, not just all the same paintings of a important figure in history or something like that, but just doing something different. So the first thing, though, it's asking us, what does Pete mean by the statement? So I would say in Pete's statement, he is talking about, we got to think about, he was talking about how he wants, well, let's think here, what he wants to do, right? Different things in the arts section, right? If we look here, at that moment, he realized he had never been in the modern art section before, having always returned to the familiar rooms where the art was easier to understand. And as the newness of the room filled him with a sense of joy, he said to Santina, and then again, you've broken my pattern and I attribute a new friendship. So he's talking about how he has a new appreciation for new works of art. Now, The next part, support your answer with evidence from the passage. Support your answer with evidence from the passage. Support your answer. This next part, I'm sorry, everybody. This next part always has to, has to go one of two ways. One way can go like this. You can say, in the passage, it says blank. Now, quick little mini lesson. There's a huge difference between paraphrasing something and directly quoting something. Okay? If I gave you my talking about one of my all-time favorite movies, Star Wars, and I was basically giving you some points about the plot, I would mostly paraphrase it. However, if my true nerd self ever came out and I literally had the script and just reading everything word for word, line by line, I'm directly quoting the movie. Okay? So if I said it's about this guy named Luke, and he goes out and he does other stuff, and then this old man Kenobi comes, and then they do all these other things, I'm paraphrasing. Now, if I would have said, screen opens up a long time ago, galaxy far, far away, Star Wars, title screen crawls up, and then I read everything in the title screen, and then I do all the quotes and everything. I'm directly quoting. I'm copying, and then that's not good. So let's try to avoid it. If taking something in the passage, like this, we're going to take something from here, is a little hard to put in your own words, then let's make sure we're using quotations, okay? So, because in the passage here, it's basically saying, quote, and I'm going to look here. So, he had never been to the modern art section before, comma, having always returned to the familiar rooms where the art was easier to understand. And as the newness of this filled him with a sense of joy, now first off, we got to think about what we just took out from the quote, right? A lot of stuff just came out of that. And while impressive that we were able to copy it, we also have to make sure that we're, not just straight up taking it and being like, look how long my passage response is. Look at this, Mr. W. I'm like, awesome. You just literally copied the entire thing down. Awesome. But let's say here, he had never been to a modern art section before. End that quote. And then maybe, newness of the room filled him with a sense of joy. And then I can just with a sense of joy to support his new love of this art. Okay, look what we just did here, folks. Look here. We're almost over. I promise. Almost done. It says, in Pete's statement, he is talking about how he has a new appreciation for new works of art. In the passage, it says, quote, he had never been to a modern art section before, end quote, and, quote, newness of this filled him with a sense of joy, end quote, to support his new love of this art. Oh my golly, it's like I almost explained myself and just took snippets from that long quote we had and making sure I put quotations in, right? Quote, quote, break it off, and quote, quote, to support his new love of art. We actually just mixed a bit of paraphrasing with actual direct parts of the passage to fully support our answer. Because that's what they really love to see when doing these statements, everybody. I promise you this. They do want to see if you can take legit things from the passage, but they don't want you copying everything word for word. They want you to mix it up. Take chunks of the passage, put that in your response, but make sure you're explaining it. Because if you're literally just copying it, I'm trying to figure out why you picked it, and you're like, I don't know. But by picking this out, because I'm saying this is supporting his new love of the art. All right, now that was a lot to take in. We're going to end this segment, and we're going to have one last wrap-up video, okay? I'll see you soon.